Perfect. Let me just get set up. Okay, let me screen share. Oh, I've just got to reopen Chrome. Sorry, guys, give me a second.
No worries. In retrospect, I think I should have invited them to a room first to get everything set up, but there we go. We'll know for the next one.
Don't post this part on LinkedIn, Colin, when I'm reciting the prose of Rome. Got to cut out all the tech glitches.
Yeah, sorry about that. It's because your Rome doesn't support the browser I use, so I've had to switch browser and enable everything. And I switch off. There we go. Perfect. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yep, we're good.
Awesome. Cool. So what we've got here is an application that it's got Omni embedded, and we're trying to demonstrate how we're using AI within data analytics workflows. So anyone can access this. They can go to the link above. They can sign up, get a free account, and it's going to generate a user for them, unique user space. And they can basically try out the Omni platform in an embedded environment with some focus on some of the AI features. So a lot of the companies are asking, how do we bring AI into BI? And my view is that they're kind of becoming one and the same. So the whole purpose of BI is to help companies make the right decisions. And the platform really shows how, they're converging to rather than being separate tools. So the biggest challenge is really making AI feel native to business intelligence rather than a bolt-on. So we don't want people to think, now I'm using AI. We just want them to get better insights, faster answers, and more powerful tools, just as like their normal work. So the way I've split this, so refresh there, is there's essentially three paths here. There's what we call the AI dashboard commentary. So this is me hitting a Omni dashboard, but we're using the AI viz in there as well to comment and to do commentary and insight generation on the dash. We've got the Ask AI questions, which is us embedding the Chat AI endpoint. And then we've got Build Analysis, which is, of course, an embedded workbook of Omni, but with an overlay, onboarding overlay to show how you can go about using AI there. So if I start with this one here, you can see it just goes straight into it. And on the top, you've, of course, got a chart. And as a normal user, you're going to look at this chart and you're going to think, you're going to try and interpret this. Context on the data we're using on the website is we're assuming it's a SaaS product and it sells machine learning AI endpoints and solutions to customers. So in this case, I'm looking at the compute that certain endpoints have and the revenue per customer. So we have a recommendation engine, a deal probability engine, a price recommendation engine. And of course, the amount of compute helps us determine both the cost usage to us as a company, but also the level of usage. So when I look at this as a customer, as a product owner or someone who's trying to do some kind of pricing, I might see that the conversion analysis has pretty high amount of compute, kind of in the middle generation for revenue, whereas our price recommendation clearly has kind of a mid compute, but a high amount of revenue per customer. I could interpret this a number of different ways, but actually under here is AI interpreting it for us. So the beauty of this is I can guide the viewer of this dashboard to where the gems are, where the insights are. So it's kind of correctly picked up. We've got some pretty good things and also some problems. So you'll see at the bottom here, we've got pretty high usage and low revenue. And the AI has also worked out that the seats by proportion of compute is quite high. So if we were to scale up and scale up the prospect Intel endpoint, we would end up with a very expensive very expensive feature there, and actually it's not really being used that much either in terms of the amount of customers using it. Whereas with our conversion analysis and our price recommendation, we have pretty high revenue per customer using it. And then if you look at the number of seats using it, that's a high usage. But if you were to divide the number of seats using it per the compute, it's quite low. So it's quite cost efficient as well. So that's like a premium feature there, higher revenue, low usage. So from this, I could try and take it from here and try and figure out different pricing models or different ways that I might want to use these predictions. And for anyone watching this who's using Omni, this is using the AI Viz. And all we're doing is we're just giving it some additional context in the prompt. So we're saying, you are an analyst, you are analyzing, you're trying to find anomalies and insights based on this information. And you can feed this more, this query behind this can have a lot more information in it than the charts and the dash. So it helps the user out more because when they look at this dashboard, usually, if I was trying to get all this information out in a dashboard, I'd have to have lots of different tiles, lots of different drop downs and filters for them to try and find these different types of insights. So I can feed a really big query with lots of columns to this, and it can decide what to use and what not to use in the context of also showing the charts above it. And in this particular case, if I was then going to change it to electronics, for example, or manufacturing or something like that, don't know if we've got any data for that. Maybe not. Go with manufacturing. It's going to update the AI as well. So now you can see there it's changed the findings. So
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
This is really cool. For the prompt behind this AI summary, did you prompt it to return like a structured table like this, or did it decide to do that?
Yeah, so this will change unless you say this is the structure I want. So I've specifically said I want a markdown table and I want you to find anomalies. If you find an anomaly, I want you to categorize it by low usage, high usage, or hidden
That's
gem.
cool.
I haven't actually given all of these. I didn't tell it inverse pattern and I didn't tell it growth potential.
But you told it to basically like structure your analysis output kind of as a table versus like what we can see down here, more of like the paragraph form, which is
exactly.
Typically what
So,
but
yeah,
cool.
The reason I left this down here is to show like if you don't really give it much of a guidance, it will do this, right? So sometimes it will be a hit, sometimes it will be a miss. But if you give it a particular persona and then this is the structured output I want, it's gonna get it right most of the time, which is quite nice. So the reason this is quite important is because dashboards are no longer prescriptive anymore. People set dashboards up because they're trying to answer a particular question, and then or they're setting a dashboard up in a way where it's quite complicated because they're trying to give a self-service experience for someone to try and dig in and drill in themselves. But you could literally just feed as much as context as you want and a big query to the AI here, and that can do most of the work for you before you then have to go on to the next step and decide where to go from there to action the insight. So that's the kind of first one there. Of course, everyone's probably seen chat like this as well, where you can ask AI. And I think this is a good example of helping both business users who don't quite know, who have a problem or an opportunity, or they just have a question to ask, but they don't quite know where to go and start. There might not be a dashboard that's built for that particular use case, and they might not be the type of person who wants to go and build something or be comfortable building an insight. So of course, having natural language here is pretty good. So you could say something like how show me revenue by using the 2080 rule. So 2080 rule is, of course, the Pareto rule that 80% of your revenue comes from 20% of your customers. So you can see there, it's picked up on that from the large language model. And actually, when I asked this earlier, it gave me a slightly different graph, which was easier to read. But if I go here, you can kind of see it's still giving me that. So these are the top 10 customers by revenue. And you can see in this case, it hasn't given me like a bunch of extra calculations like it did when I asked it earlier. So that's where, as a user, you might decide then to say, okay, add in some counts and things like that. But this, from here, I might then decide to click New Analysis, and of course go into that workbook view, which a lot of people are more comfortable with when they're using a self-service platform. But I think the Ask AI chat here, so you can see there it's kept my session there. I think that provides a bit of a safe space for business users who are never going to be comfortable using a workbook view like this. And I think we'll end up with a lot of people just interacting with BI through this natural language. And the beauty of this is it's sitting on top of Omni's semantic layer. So for anyone kind of watching the video who is using Omni, you can just embed this endpoint and not necessarily expose the rest of the application if you don't want to, but you can also then allow people to drill into the workbook like it does here, which of course comes onto the build analysis section. And you can just see here I've got some overlays which are like onboarding overlays, just to show people where to click when they're in this. So this platform was also built to give people an idea of how to use Omni if they've never used it before. So if they want to come in and then just test it out, see what Omni is all about, when they first log in, it's going to show you these tutorial screens, just to kind of give them a quick steer into where to go. And I don't think I need to show too much more on this, because this is quite, most people watching this will understand the workbooks here and how to use it. But for anyone who hasn't used Omni, this is kind of where the AI is integrated to allow us to speed up production of insights. So this is more commonly used by data professionals who are in this workbook layer and they want to speed up just the creation. So a lot of these things here, like positive MMR, negative MMR, and the impact, a lot of that was created with me just prompting the AI and then adding it to the model. And it's a nice little segue into people who haven't really had any kind of formal data analysis training or want to kind of get into trying to do that in their day job. They can come in here and just ask the AI to create them a chart, and then from there they can kind of use the AI here on the left to kind of assist them in how to go about getting insights off of their data. I think most people are familiar with, of course, it also being built into the filter, and of course being built into the formulas here. And that's where I really see, for me, that's where this really works really well, because AI is about bringing people, it's about not letting people leave the workflow. I don't want people all the time going to like Claude or ChatGPT, doing stuff there, copy pasting things there, and then coming back into where they're working. The way this is going is you build AI where the user is conducting their workflow. So in this case, I'm doing my analysis in Omni. I want my AI to be sitting in Omni, and I want it to help me with all the different areas. So write formulas, write a filter, or just create a chart. So this site, anyone can come in, sign up, use it. It's powered by Omni, of course. It's got Mother Duck in the background for, so it's hosting DuckDB for the data warehouse. It's just built in like a React Native. Backend is Next.js. We've got Postgres for just a couple of tables for storing users' information. Most things are done in memory. So we've got temporary cache, which allows it to follow the workbook usage. So if I click on that Ask AI again, you can see it's gone back to the workbook where I navigated from the workbook. And we're using the Omni SDK for most of this. In fact, actually for all of it. So specifically the Embed SSO dashboard, Embed SSO workbook, and Embed SSO content discovery endpoints are being used. Stateless backend, so we're not doing any session storage. The beauty of using Omni here is it does everything for us. So, I don't need to reinvent the wheel. Omni's doing all the cookie storage their end and doing the session management, which is great. I just have a temporary in-memory cache just to help with these workbook mappings, and also determine if these overlays pop up or not, because the first time you come on these pages, the overlays will pop up as a bit of an introduction, and then we just temporarily restore whether they've done that or not. But that's basically it.
Really clean app experience. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, no problem.
Any questions from everybody?
Not really a technical question. Also, nice to see you on video, Jamie, after interacting in Slack for some time. This is super cool. But one of the things that came to mind, especially when you're demoing Colin, like how you're looking at the question data, is like as an analyst, you said the word safe space, Jamie. I think that really resonated with me. And I'd be curious to see if that just opens up more communication with users that may feel a little bit shy about their data literacy and that sort of thing. And that, a side effect of not only getting the answers they need is just like really a better match between the analyst team and the end users.
Yeah, so I think everyone gets imposter syndrome, right, in their job. So it becomes more amplified as well when you're doing something that's a bit out of your comfort zone. So if you're like a product owner, for example, and the use case I was showing there was trying to figure out if the API endpoints were priced correctly. It's pretty scary to kind of go in and try and do some data analysis, come up with a hypothesis and an assumption, and then you think, okay, I think I've answered my question, but I could be wrong. And then you've got to go and present those findings to someone, and someone could pick that apart. It could be in a nice way, of course, but it's still, you're not very confident really in taking something you don't do in your day job on a daily basis, sitting in a meeting and saying, hey, I think we should change the pricing here, and I've done this XYZ analysis, right? So most people would go into the workbook and they would try and use the interface and get some insight, not be very sure if they've actually ended up with the right answer, and then they would probably go to their data team to validate it and verify it, and that kind of takes time, and kind of takes you out of your workflow. So having the AI there to ask questions, have I used the right revenue column here? What else could I ask and do here? And of course, in Omni, it's got context of the topics, it's got context of the fields. It's harder to get things wrong, basically. And I would probably also say the thing which I'm looking forward to is trying to add some personas into the AI. So I'd love to be able to package up AI personas like a revenue analyst or a product analyst into Omni. And then basically, like you saw with the dashboard AI commentary, I was giving it a persona there and on what it should be looking for. I'd love to be able to do that on the rest of the platform. And again, that will give people more confidence then in doing their own discovery of data, because they'll know then they've got there's a revenue analyst persona that's grabbing this information, and they haven't got to try and verify it themselves then. If that makes sense.
Hey, Jamie.
Yep.
Under the AI commentary, are you able to share the context that you gave for that AI summary? That was super cool.
Yeah, I actually shared it with a client. I share it with clients a lot, and they just tweak it slightly, and it gives them really good insight then in different domains. I had one hitting a client that does a lot of transactional marketing emails, and it was coming out with, well, your soft bounce rates are high, but your hard ones are low, so you should consider checking XYZ. And it was quite domain specific, which I was really surprised at. So the large language model itself, putting from its training, that be it Claude or whatever we were using, is pulling that context from the large language model into the output, which is really cool.
Jamie, did you just do a bunch of iteration on the prompt itself, or how did you go about that strategy to get to that thing that can be tweaked but produces nice results? So
the way I usually do this is I just start by typing out into like Claude or ChatGPT, whatever you want to use. This is the prompt. This is what I want to get out of a prompt. It's going to be going to an LLM, write me the prompt. And so I'll use AI to write the prompt, first of all, right? And then I'll take that from there, put it into Omni, and then I will iterate it on what I need. So I always use AI to talk to AI, first of all. It gets it right most of the time. It kind of does 90% of the work. Which is funny. I can see Rob laughing there. It's the way the world's going, Rob. Do you want me to take you through the lead gen stuff? So this is probably the bit which you wouldn't want on the demos recordings, but it captures people's emails. Also, I'm using that as leads for myself and also for Omni. So when you sign up, you get an email, and then there's like another 2 emails past that. So it's like a 7-day funnel of emails, and it's obviously trying to get people on a call with me, and then if not, then I try and funnel them to Omni's website. So, and then it ends up in Mark's team as well, and in the T's and C's, it's got all that there where we can do that.
And we're seeing the first referrals come in through Euler. Or
Yeah.
what?
Exactly, yeah. That's the manual bit.
Cool. Thanks for going through that with us.
Yep.
No worries.
Thanks, Jamie.
I did have
Yeah, please.
sorry to cut you off, Colin.
Last question.
You said something that kind of stood out to me, which was you were like, oh, and it actually makes it harder for people to get the right answer. But one of the things with using AI to generate the queries is like, how do you actually validate that it is the right answer? So I mean, it's interesting that you kind of flip that and you're like, oh, you're more likely to get the right answer using this strategy.
Yeah.
So I wonder if you've got thoughts on that.
Yeah, I do actually. So this is funny for me because I've been in the machine learning space for like quite a while. So before like the LLMs came out, and whenever we used to put machine learning things into production, the expectation was always it would be 99.9% accurate. But what was interesting to me was existing systems they had weren't that close to accuracy. They were like, 75, 80% accurate because there's humans doing them. So there was always a higher expectation on accuracy from the AI than there was from their existing like human processes. So that's still kind of the case. People expect it because it's a machine. It needs to be like very, very accurate. And there's definitely some mistrust still of the outputs of an LLM because you can just go and give it a generic question, not give it enough context, so it won't actually be able to give you the right answer because you don't give it enough context. But I think that's shifting a lot. I'm seeing a big shift into people trusting AI more, and that's where I think with Omni, because you've got the semantic layer there, so people know there's been a lot of work put into giving context to the AI. I'm seeing from clients they're being a lot more trusting with the outputs in Omni than they are if they were just going to Claude and just typing in a question and getting an output. So I'm kind of seeing that switch. So that's kind of where that came from.